Good morning, high school. It is Monday, March 8th. It is still winter here. It is still very cold, and we're in the middle of our second full semester of distance learning. First semester wasn't great. It was hard, but for the most part, people made it through. Students managed to get work done. Teachers managed to keep up and process the things they had in front of them as they planned for distance learning and worked in a new way that was not what we trained for and not what we wanted to do. But we made it through. This semester is a different story, not just for us, but around the world. Being in quarantine, dealing with restrictions for COVID is really wearing on people. It's getting really hard to keep up, getting really hard to keep going, finding the will each week to do the same thing day in, day out, be in the same spaces, not seeing our friends, not seeing campus, not being able to do the things that we really want to do. It's been really hard. This semester, we're seeing many more students who are struggling to get anything done, struggling to find the will to start work each week and to engage with any of their classes. We're seeing more teachers who are struggling to keep up with the workload and to get things out to students and then get grades back to students in a timely manner. We're seeing more families who are just struggling to keep it together, struggling to maintain routine and keep up the relationships in the house when they've all been together in quarantine for the past year. For a lot of us, there's a need to feel like we have control over what's going on, or lacking control, at least like we're managing to keep everything together. A need to feel like, despite everything that's been going on, that we're okay. And given everything that's happening, given the situation that we're finding ourselves in and the length of time that we found ourselves in this situation, it's okay to not be okay. The longer we stay in quarantine, the longer we're isolated and away from each other, away from friends, away from school and family, the more things like depression, anxiety, and social withdrawal are going to be a reality for more and more people. Those things are real, those things are significant, and they're not just something that you can deny or pretend away and expect that it won't affect you anymore, and expect that it's not going to have an impact on your life and your relationships and your school. We can't deny those things or hide from them or pretend they don't exist, but we can lessen their impact on our lives and help find ways for us and the people around us to cope and to manage. So here are some ideas for what you can do when you're not okay. The first is to give yourself some grace. We tend to be pretty good at being gracious with other people and understanding when they're in situations that are impacting what they can do and how they're responding to us. We tend to be worse at giving ourselves grace and admitting that there are things that are keeping us from acting and responding and living in the ways that we want to live. Earlier this week, this came across my feed. One of my friends posted it, and it's written by someone named Donna Ashworth. It says, "You're not imagining it. Nobody seems to want to talk right now. Messages are brief and replies late. Talk of catch up on Zoom and perpetually put on hold. Group chats are no longer pinging all night long. It's not you. It's everyone. We're spent. We have nothing left to say. We're tired of saying I miss you and I can't wait for this to end. So we mostly say nothing. Put our heads down. Just get through each day. You're not imagining it. This is a state of being like no other we have ever known because we're all going through it together, but so very far apart. Hang in there, my friend. When the mood strikes, send out all those messages and don't feel you have to apologize for being quiet. This is hard. No one is judging. I can't tell you how many emails I've written in the past 2 months that have said, I'm sorry this has taken so long to get back to you, or sorry I didn't get back to you right away, but this came up or this came up. I just don't have the energy to respond right away. And I understand, I get it when others do that. I'm much less understanding when it comes to myself. We're just hard on ourselves sometimes, and we need to not be. We need to give ourselves the grace to understand that this is something ridiculous and difficult that we are going through. We're not at our full capacity, and we need to be okay with that. The second thing you can do is to be specific with your feelings and your thoughts. As you think about what's going on, how you're feeling, the things that you're experiencing, it can be hard and it's time consuming to try to describe those fully, to put details and words to what we're thinking. But it's worth the effort, and it helps us process how we're feeling, and it helps us better explain that to other people. If you stop right now and think through your experience of the past week and work to describe it, you might say something like, it was hard, I didn't like it, I don't want to do this anymore. Those may not be very true, but they're not specific. They don't help you hone in on what exactly is it that's making this hard? What exactly is it that you don't like? It's worth taking the time to think through, what is it about the situation that's making it hard? What don't you like? It's worth putting some thought, taking some time, maybe journaling if you do that, to try to be specific with why don't you like this and what is making this situation hard. Maybe you'll come to the conclusion that seeing your friends and talking to them was your favorite part of school. And so this year, doing schoolwork at home away from them just makes you realize how much you miss them. Maybe it's that nature helps you de-stress, and walking around, getting outside were what kept you going. And this year, not being able to do that is putting a lot of stress on you. Maybe it's that you're missing the events that make the school year meaningful for you. The sports, the fine arts, the trips, the clubs, whatever that is. Maybe not having those things makes school feel meaningless. Whatever you conclude, being specific will help you understand why you might be feeling depressed or anxious or lonely. And it might give you a direction for how to respond, how to mitigate some of those effects, and to grieve the losses that you have experienced this year. The third thing you can do, once you've been specific with how you're thinking and feeling, is to share that with somebody. Communicate it with a parent, a friend, a teacher, someone, so that you know somebody else knows how you're thinking and how you're feeling, that you're not alone going through this. I get that talking to somebody over Zoom or Messenger or Marco Polo or whatever you use isn't the same as sitting down face to face and being able to talk to them. But it's still worth doing. It's still worth letting somebody else know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, knowing that you're not in it by yourself. It is obviously still winter here. The lake is still frozen. It hasn't been above freezing in weeks. But there are signs that the winter is not going to last forever. Some of the snow is melting. Some plants are showing signs that are going to start growing again. Winter's not going to last forever. And neither is COVID. A year is a long time, especially in the life of a high schooler. And this year has been terrible. We don't need to pretend that it hasn't been. It's okay to not be okay. But that doesn't mean there aren't things that we can do about it. There aren't ways that we can seek help. If you are somebody who's been experiencing depression or anxiety this year, it's okay to not be okay. But it doesn't mean you have to stay that way. It doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. I hope you understand that you're supported. I hope you feel hopeful. And I hope you know that this won't last forever. Stay safe. Stay sane.